Good afternoon, everybody. They gave me the toughest spot after lunch, so hopefully you are all awake. And actually what I'm going to talk about today is maybe not the traditional presentation about what we are doing at the GigaSpace, but firstly to talk about a few things that I would like to encourage you to think after the presentation about what does it mean to me as an organization, as a person, but generally, why aren't we, as a human being, by the way, but in that context of digital transformation, doing what we want to do? Because just few examples here, that if we're talking about financial institutions, we know that, and as a users, we all want to be able to get mortgages within 3 minutes. I don't know when was the last time you asked a mortgage, but usually it's few days at best, sometimes few weeks. It is never 3 minutes. But why isn't that the case? Or, why aren't we getting hyper-personalized loans just when we need them? And not how many of us open letters that we've been offered to take loans or anything for X percentage, but we don't need them. Or letting customer go back and see their transactions for the last 10 years. Why do I need to go to my bank account? And it's not like in Amazon. In Amazon, when I go, I can check my transactions for the last 10 years. It's not a problem. Why? I cannot do it with my insurance, banks, retailers, always limited to 12 months, never seen more than 12 months, by the way. But usually it's 1, 2, 3 months. And not talking, if I want to do it for my mobile, it's usually 1 month. Why? So there are things that we know we want to do, but we are not doing this, and we are not providing this, or we are not getting this. So really, when Forrester looked into innovation, they figure out that organizations that really go into innovation can progress much faster than other that are not going through innovations. And what is interesting is the last part. None of this is possible if you are not doing disruption activities. So to think that because just we want to do some things will happen is not enough. You need to do something disruptive. And it's very, very important to remember this. So what is disruption? Because disruption is a big word, but what is it? So I cannot hear you, but I will just ask a quick question. How many of you think you are doing something disruptive? Just raise your hand. Okay. How many of you think that going to the cloud is disruptive? Raise your hand. So, by the way, what we've seen here that or you are shy, by the way, you shouldn't be, but or you are not doing anything disruptive. Okay? And sometimes people or organizations think that they do what the rest of the market is doing is disruptive. I will give an example that later on in the panel we will discuss it. Some organizations think that they going to the cloud is disruptive. Guess what? It is not. Because 90% of the market is going to the cloud. So how disruptive can it be? Or if you are doing the same as what your peers or other competitors are doing, it is not disruptive. So disruptive needs to be something different. Something that was not done before. Or something that will have a great impact on your business. So, and this, I like this quote from Henry Ford, and he said, look, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Because this is the domain and what we know. We usually act and behave based on what we are familiar with and know. We don't think, I don't like the term out of the box, because it's a misuse of the term, but we act in the framework that we are aware of. Never in the framework that we are not aware of, because it's hard, we don't know. So the question is how to do it, and how to do these kind of things. And this is some of the examples that I like to use, because This is a quote from one of the CTOs in one of the largest banks in Israel, that when we ask them, what are you aiming, what are you trying to achieve? So you would think that the bank's main issue is how to compete with another bank. Guess what? No. It's to introduce these thousands of services quickly, with the notion that they would fail, most of them, by the way. Most of the services that they are going to introduce are going to fail, but they know that out of these 1,000 services, maybe 10% will be successful. And this 10% will make a big impact on the business. So usually when we're talking about challenges, okay, of organizations, they will tell you that they want to introduce a lot of services. They have issues of latency with the services that they would like to provide. They will say some of the services we have, they are not scalable. We cannot scale to, big market. We tried it in the lab and then it doesn't scale. Where the data reside, the system of record, businesses in silos, many reasons that organizations are struggling to innovate. So this is an example from Avanza Bank in Sweden. They really build their solution to be able to innovate very quickly. They are running in parallel close to 2,000 services, okay? And they build a solution that can scale at any given time. And this is, by the way, an example of their trading that is happening very early in the morning when the market is open, very high volumes, and then during the day it is slowing down. This is, by the way, a scalability they are aware of. What they are not aware of, what happened when Trump tweets something and suddenly it is not predictable. How do you build something that is scalable to this kind of incidents? So it is a challenge. So, by the way, most of these challenges, I'm putting aside the business challenges that the business need to decide what they want to do. Without that, there's no point to go into any digital transformation. There are usually IT challenges that many of the large enterprises are facing because there are a lot of legacy systems already exist. And what is happening that many organizations always think, I'm going to build on top what I have. And this is what we see a lot. And I also like this quote because if you think good architecture is expensive, try bad architecture. And this is, many organizations are going through this process. They start to build an architecture and they are not stopping and thinking, is this right? Why do I do it? What do I try to achieve? And they build these building blocks one after the other, and at the end it looks like this. And then it's too late, by the way. Then you want to change this, you cannot, because everything is collapsing. So on the IT, usually, there is this notion of spaghetti architecture, very hard to maintain, very hard to innovate, but this is the reality that many large organizations are facing. It is true that moving to the cloud, helping to arrange some of that, but fundamentally, if you are not architecturally doing the right things, it will stay the same on the cloud. So moving to the cloud is not the solution, is the mean to achieve something. Actually, Gartner identified this problem and they defined a term called digital integration hub, okay? And they put it right now at the top of the hype cycle. If you're familiar with Gartner, a hype cycle, it means that things that are here are going to happen in the next coming years, and things that are here are already almost history. So they are happening, they are available, and you can use them. And the digital integration hub is at the top of the hype cycle. And basically, what does it mean? That organizations that would like to innovate and transform need to decouple the application from the data. Very simple thing. How to do it is a little bit more complex. But what you want to decouple, you want to be able to allow the organization to build truly microservices on top of this. You need this to be event-driven, meaning that when something has happened, then you notify the application, and not the application all the time need to ask what is happening. And it needs to have a very, very fast data store. This is an architectural concept, is not related to GigaSpace. It's something that I highly recommend to everybody that is not familiar with this, to read about this. By the way, some of you maybe have not called it DIH, but you have done it anyway. Okay, so it's just a new term. And basically when organizations want to innovate, they have two options. One, to do it themselves, or to look for out-of-the-box solution. So obviously, once you do it yourself, you will need to build it. It's nothing wrong with that. And those of you that are technical, you will see some of the companies or the solutions that you are familiar with. Some databases, some replication, some caching, all kinds of things. In best case, it takes 2 to 3 years to build it, in best case. Not because somebody's doing the wrong thing, it's simply complex. It is just, when you build a house, it's not the connection of the pipes is the challenge. It's to make sure that the water pressure is the same throughout the house, that the electricity is working as you expect it. It's not the simple thing, just the connectivity. To build this is a complex thing. Or you go and search for out of the box. This is the first time that I'm introducing GigaSpaces. And here is a product that we provide called Smart DIH, which is basically all what you've seen previously, on the do-it-yourself, simply in one box, decoupling the application from the data. And I will not go into that because it's very lengthy and quite complex, but basically here you have all the types of system of records, here you have the type of applications, and the platform knows how to capture the data in real time or in batch, depends on the case, ingest the data to the platform, to our hosting layer, which is in-memory technology, and basically expose the data to the application and allowing the users to develop the applications using microservices. All of this is managed and by one platform, fully configured using cloud-native technologies, and all in one platform. And obviously, it allows organizations to go through the migration from on-prem to cloud, and in between, obviously, meeting what we believe is the most common challenges right now is about the hybrid. Because every organization has some on-prem data and needs, and moving to the cloud. So the hybrid has become almost the standard these days. And I'm sure we'll talk about this in the panel after this session. So what organizations achieve if they implement DIH? By the way, regardless if it is GigaSpace or any other, or do-it-yourself, it's not related. If previously it was very, very expensive to do so, and it takes very long time to introduce services, the idea is to build something very quickly and to implement very, very quickly services, with the notion that some of these services will fail. But if these services has not cost you so much, so that's okay. It's not such a big deal. If it costs you 2 days of developers or 1 week, it's okay. If it takes you 6 months, it's a different story. And you need to be sure that every service you introduce is bingo. With this approach, you always want that all your services will be bingo, It's not a question, but reality is slightly different. So this concept really allows you to achieve this kind of agility. If you implement the DIH, what we call the smart DIH, basically you will be able to achieve real-time services, fast time to market, cost reduction, okay, and this is significant, especially as we want to introduce more and more. Run on any environment, cloud, on-prem, hybrid, performance and scalability, because if we build something like this and it is not scalable, it's not very useful, and allows you some applications such as single view of customer. One last slide about GigaSpaces. We've been implemented our solution with the largest enterprises you can think about, from financial services to airlines, Barclays, Morgan Stanley. Really a strong foothold, and I would like to welcome for the last 1 minute maybe questions. I'm just going to put this.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Shai. Thank you.